He's back on the show with us, Irish Joe Duffy, all the way there in Montreal. It was a pleasure to have the man on the show. He's been laying low for the last couple of months, but always great to have him on. Joseph, my friend, how are you? What's been happening in Montreal?
I'm good, Niall. Not a pile, to be honest. Snow and ice. That's about the height of it.
Is it that bad there still? Yeah.
Yes, I think there's snow due now this afternoon, I think. But I don't know. Like this year's been up and down. Like it's not been as cold. Like at this in December, it's like -20s or whatever. And then I don't know. There's a rake of snowstorms, and then you get this freezing rain, and it's just put a crust over the top of it, like the place like a sheet of glass like this.
It's better than Dublin, mate. Anyway, I tell you, it's like 4 seasons in one day here today with the sleet and all that sort of crap. But anyway, listen, Mr. Duffy, obviously didn't go your way in Madison Square Garden at UFC 217. How have you been since then mentally? It was obviously a bitter pill to swallow. Obviously, George went in and obviously won the middleweight title as well. Not a great night for you. You started the fight so well. And, for me, we talked about it off air there a few minutes ago. You sort of maybe became a little bit hesitant in the second rounds. How do you look back on that fight now?
Yeah, it was a frustrating one. It was definitely a bitter pill to swallow, to be honest, Niall. It was like I was saying to you off air there. I was feeling good. I was in the change room when I first got in the change room. I felt very sharp. And just as the night was going on, then like the longer the night went on, I kind of felt like the sharpness was coming out of me. And I felt like I was in the change room, and I just kept chasing that feeling where your eyes on fire, you're seeing every shot, your counters are on point. Um, and I probably just I went a bit mental in the warm up. To be honest, I must have done a 2 hour warm up just chasing that good feeling. That feeling. So you're feeling confident before you get in. But
Do you think you tired yourself out or did you overthink it?
um, maybe a bit of both. To be honest, I think obviously I shouldn't be chasing that feeling. I think once I felt good, I should have let it settle and not keep forcing it. Um, but I was doing like 5 minute rounds in the back. I was going a bit
Wow.
mental. So I think by the time I got out in the octagon, I was probably already on a decline. But
Was that
yeah,
your call to do that? Did you want to keep doing that in the back, or was it for us, or what was the situation there in relation to that?
no, it was 100% my call. Like Faraz is he'll work with the individual.
Yeah, of
If we
course.
feel like we need more or whatever, like he'll work with us. Um, but it was me. Was I suppose it's not something somebody will see or and only you feel. So it's one of them things you're chasing, and maybe from an outside perspective, they might look at it and think, he's overdoing it here. But if that's what they need to get ready for the fight, then they're not going to say nothing because they want you to go in and do it your way. So.
Something maybe I don't know if it had anything to do with that. The fact maybe you couldn't get to that level, but it's something I know you pondered before. You said on the show that you were talking about maybe going changing weight class to 145. Was the weight cut okay on fight week? Did it was that anything in consideration?
The weight cut was the most straightforward weight cut ever. If anything, I would say it was too low.
Okay.
Um, I'm like all through camp. I've been keeping like a good clean diet, through the summer. And then all I had to do was make a few wee tweaks, really, just tighten up a little bit. On the weekend I wouldn't go have no cheat meals. I would just tighten that up, and the weight was flying off. Obviously, I always follow Lockhart's website
Yeah. Yeah.
on Fitness VT, and like it's so simple. Full energy. My weight's coming down. Um, but in the end, I woke up in the morning. I only had 4 pounds to cut.
Wow. It's not much at all.
So if anything, I probably went in undersized. I was a little bit too small. Um, like if you compared with London was a harder cut. It was like 11 pounds, but it was very
Yeah.
straightforward. It was like the diet side of it was harder through our camp. I felt like the weight was sticking, but in terms of the weight cut. It was very simple. It was 2 baths, 2 baths, and I was on weight. But this time I woke up 6 in the morning. The day of the weigh-in, I done 1 bath, and I was under by maybe
Wow.
2 pounds.
All
So
right.
it was, if anything, probably a little bit too low this time.
You look at the fight now, right, and you go, I watched the first round again, and I thought you looked super in the first round. Have you pinpointed why you became hesitant in the second? That's what it seemed to me. Did you feel as though maybe you became a little hesitant in the first round?
Tell you the truth, it's funny because everyone talks about the first round, and maybe, like I said, from that negative space I was in my head in the change room, I was actually the whole first round. I felt like it went terrible during the fight.
Okay. Wow.
That's how I felt. Obviously from an outside perspective, everyone watching it. Like I remember, I don't know whether it'll show up. I know on Fight Pass you can show the commentary or whatever. But when I'm talking to Faraz and Mandel, they're telling me like I won the first round clear, and I thought they were blowing smoke up my ass because everything felt off. I didn't
Yeah,
feel
yeah, yeah.
sharp, and I was like, I don't like. Obviously, they would tell me straight because I would rather know, but they were telling me, and I couldn't believe it. But yeah, the second round, I just felt like I was managing my gas tank. Like I said, that maybe like I must have overdone in the change room because like I was on the back foot. I was trying to push, trying to counter, but that's not really my game.
Yeah, yeah.
I like to be in someone's face. I like to be, pushing the fight and aggressive. But I felt like I was managing and trying to fight smart. But yeah, I was just managing, and then obviously maybe towards the end of the round when I got caught, maybe I felt like I hadn't done enough and I had to push that round and not much happened, and then I got clipped. But again, none of this is excuses. I'm just kind of coming up
Yeah,
with
no,
with
100%.
theories that it might have been, but it's hard to pinpoint exactly what it was down to.
Was it? Have you had a big analysis of the performance on the night with yourself and Faraz? Has there been a lot of sort of breaking down of what actually, what was the core problem to get to the root cause of it?
Um, Not so much yet. Not so much yet. I haven't been training a whole pile. Again, we're speaking off air. Like my
Yeah, yeah.
shoulder's been giving me trouble, so I've been getting that looked at. Obviously, we had a brief chat about it. We had a brief chat, like look back on it. I didn't look at the fight for about a month after because I was going home for a few weeks and everything, and I didn't want to. I didn't want to look at the fight until I could do a little something about it. And I know I was on suspension. Obviously, I wasn't meant to train properly for 30 odd days or whatever. So I thought, right, in a month or so, I'll come back, I'll look at it, and then I can do a little something about it. I can work on something.
Well, interesting now. You watched back that first round. How did you score compared to what Faraz and Mandel said to you from a few minutes ago? What you were saying about them saying you won the round. Did you feel as though you were dominant in the first round? Looking back on it now,
Yeah, first round, obviously, I watch it. It was decent. It was decent. I wouldn't say it was tip top or nothing, but yeah, the first round, I was kind of pushing the pace. It was more of my style.
yeah, yeah. Quick in
Yeah,
and out and slick. That's what I would have said the first round was compared to the second. And the second, it became a little bit maybe closed off and something obviously.
negative,
Yeah,
negative. It
yeah,
was,
yeah.
I think like the first round, it was. I think even just being in that headspace, obviously, because I didn't feel sharp going in, maybe it just carried through,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then
And talk to me about the shoulder. You mentioned the shoulder there to the guys. What's the situation with the shoulder? Is it? Are you going to be out for a long period of time? What's the diagnosis? Do you know yet?
not yet, not yet. I had an MRI there last Wednesday, so I'm just waiting now for the results and go from there. Go from there.
It's obviously
I think
restricted.
like from what I heard, like sounds like a suspected torn labrum. But who knows? I don't really look too much into it until I got the results. Then I'll go from there. But it's just a waiting game at the minute now.
Yeah. And how's the motivation being, Joe? You know, obviously, a loss like that on the big stage will, you know, obviously it's going to hurt anyone. How have you felt upstairs about the whole situation?
Yeah, I suppose it's one of them. It was a bitter pill to swallow again. I suppose that's what's hard about the sport. You only get one bite of the cherry, and as my dad said, you want to take a good bite. Um, but sometimes when you don't go in there and perform, and all the work you've put in doesn't come out, and it doesn't materialize on that one night, which is what's hard about the sport. But it's not something I've experienced too often.
Yeah, well, 100%. You haven't because
I
you haven't.
remember, throughout my fight career, like when I lost to Ivan Masado, obviously nobody wants to lose. But I remember coming out of the fight, it wasn't a case I lost because I didn't go in, I didn't perform. Like there wasn't nothing wrong mentally. It was just a case of,
You slipped.
I made the mistake, I got caught. It's an easier loss to take. You can take that loss because I know I went in and performed 100%, and I got caught, and fair play to him. He stuck in there and he got the win. So, a loss like that it's a much easier hurdle to get through. But well, it's not one. It's a couple now that I feel I haven't gone in and performed the way I should have, and now that's what I got to get around. I got to figure out exactly the process to sharpening that and getting to the point where I'm relaxed and I'm feeling on point every time. Getting that consistency, and that's something that I'll sit down with Fraz and break down. And once the shoulders, whatever's got to be done with the shoulder, that's something I want to achieve when I go out there.
Definitely, obviously, momentum's a great thing, obviously, for any fighter and any walk of life, any sport. So it's going to be obviously a period of reflection for yourself and for us on how to conquer that, which is going to be interesting. Obviously with the shoulder, you can't really say much about a return at the moment when you're going to get back in there. Is it all a waiting game to get the results of the MRI and then maybe make a decision on the recovery if there is bad injury there, and then maybe take it from there and get back in, maybe fingers crossed, towards the end of the year?
Yeah, 100%. Like I said before, I want to keep busy this year. That's the thing. I wanted to be busy and make a move with it all this year. So, once I got the results, I suppose I kind of got a better picture of my next move.
Yeah.
I'm really struggling with the jabs and the hooks, so it's really limiting my game. I can't work pad work, and I feel like
it's frustrating.
Like
it's frustrating. It's
consistent.
Frustrating, obviously, extremely frustrating.
Yeah, it's frustrating as hell, to be honest. More than anything, I just feel like a bit of a bitch, I'm going in and if I can't throw the jab or I can't throw the hook, and then say I've been working the pads and I got to say this to the person who's holding the pads, I kind of feel like I'm bitching out a bit, or I'm complaining. But
you have to be sensible. It's your career. You have to. Maybe take that little bit of time off. And I know you want to be active, but there's nothing you can do about injuries. You sort of have to get them treated in order to be at your best.
I suppose that's the conclusion I got to now. Now I got to the point where it's interrupting the training. I got to get it looked at, and I got to address it, because obviously I can't be going into fights worrying about this. If you're going in, you can't. You're limited in your game. Then and a jab and a hook obviously sets up half your game. So I suppose they're handy tools to have.
Definitely. I want to ask you, obviously, about the division at the moment as well. It's a bit of a mess. Dana sort of said he doesn't know who's champion, who's going to be champion, all that sort of malarkey. Just your thoughts at the mess at the top, and probably in every division in mixed martial arts at the moment in the UFC. It's just frustrating for guys like Tony and Khabib.
I'm sure it is. I read an article on it the other day, actually. I think it was what's his name? It was Eddie Alvarez was talking about it.
Yeah.
And he gave his opinion on why he thinks like they haven't said the title's been stripped and so on. And I thought he hit the nail on the head with it. Really, like it wasn't a point that I thought about, but he said that obviously like this fight has been they've been trying to make this fight like three
Three, four
times,
times, yeah.
and it's fallen through. And if it falls through again, the strip corner, and it kind of throws him more into disarray because somebody fights Tony Ferguson for the legitimate title. It makes more of a mess of it. But what he said is how he sees it playing out is a case of they'll strip him once they both weighed in. Once they know the fight's good to go, they'll release the news. They'll say, "Look, this is for the title,"
Yeah.
which Dana has confirmed it is for the title. They just didn't confirm that he's been stripped. So I suppose it makes sense, in that sense.
Definitely.
Until they're guaranteed that they're both weighed in, they're both safe to fight. I suppose it makes good business
Yeah.
sense.
He should have
But
stripped. He should have stripped him anyway. But regardless, it's a bit silly. I think when you're trying to legitimize the sport into the mainstream media, and a lot of places are just going to laugh at that sort of carry on. I think personally, but listen, we could argue about that all day. Joe, opponent wise, are you looking at anyone? I know obviously the injury, and you're going to take a little bit of time out now. But is there anything that you have your eyes on that you'd fancy a bit of?
yeah, like I suppose the list never changes now. Like I want to
Yeah.
fight the top guys. And my goal for this year was to make sure I was ranked, get in the top 16. Obviously after fighting James, it puts me back a step. I'm not sure how far. I'm not sure, what the UFC's thoughts are, or who they got in mind for next. But I suppose once I'm good to go, I'll just be glad to get a fight again.
Yeah, yeah.
And work towards that goal because that's my goal for the end of the year at least.
Yeah. How difficult? I didn't ask you this one earlier. How difficult was it facing a guy as tall as James Vick? Obviously, you don't see 6'3", 4 lightweights in the UFC or in any division really. Guys that tall. Was it tricky?
It was tricky. It was tricky. It was good fun to be honest because it has different things to your game and you learn a lot from it. And like for instance, I remember at one point I think I threw a shot and I remember like he slipped and he came back with a jab or something and I remember in the fight thinking, Jesus, how, like I was thinking the range, like I was thinking how did he even do that? But
He's a
it's great,
skyscraper.
because you fight someone like that, you look at your problems, what you struggle with, you look for ways around it then, and obviously that's stuff you're doing beforehand. But then there's stuff that didn't come off, or there's a reason why it didn't come off. So it's definitely it makes for a good learning process.
Definitely. I can't wait for it. A couple more for you before I let you go. How's everything with GSP? I had to ask you that one. Is he back in the gym? Is he training? Obviously, we've well documented issues since vacating that middleweight title.
Tell you the truth, I don't even know if I've seen George since the fight. Other than I seen him today. I seen him today when I was training. We're all in. We're doing a wrestling practice with Gia, and George was there, but he was doing some stuff. I'm not sure whether it was publicity or whatever.
Okay.
It was work for the cameras, so I didn't get talking to him. But I know he's in every Monday. He's teaching the Monday class. So George's a martial artist.
Yeah, of course.
Even when he wasn't fighting, he was in every day. He's working on his game and he's always improving. Obviously, if he wasn't improving, there's no way he would have beaten Michael Bisping. If you look how much Michael Bisping's improved over the years.
Crazy.
So I have no idea on his situation there or his next step or.
And Rory Mack winning the Bellator title as well. Must be a happy place. Delighted to hear that news or to see the fight. It was a very tough fight against Lima. All 5, but got the job done.
Definitely. Like Rory, you look at Rory's career. like you forget how old he is because of the fights he's had and the people he's beaten and so on. Like the experience Rory's got is incredible.
Incredible.
And to see him win the title, especially after such a hard battle fight again, he just showed his mental toughness again. Lehman looked sharp, I
Yeah,
thought,
big time,
and
man.
Rory.
Two of the best welterweights in the world in any division, in my opinion. So it was a fantastic scrap. Okay, are we gonna win the Six Nations stuff? You must be delighted that you've no St. Patrick's Day card in London this year. You get to watch the rugby without your head being wrecked.
Definitely. Well, I should be back. I'm planning on coming back for a few weeks now because it's my niece's 18th, my 30th, and my brother's 40th, all in the space of like 3 weeks.
You're only a young buck yet, Joe. She's only 30. Jesus.
Fresh now.
Fresh as a daisy.
Jesus Christ, I don't feel too fresh. I feel like I'm hit by a bus daily. But I'm looking forward to it. I think it's one of them. I shouldn't be superstitious, but I never like to go, oh yeah, they're gonna win, and then
the same.
you feel like you curse the team or whatever. But I don't know. Every year, Ireland, like the teams they have with the ability they have, even their second string side now, I look at and I think it's very impressive.
Do you still keep a close eye on the rugby from Canada still? Yeah.
As much as I can, as much as I can. Like it, I wish I had the channels that I could sit down and watch. Like after sparring every Friday, sit down and watch all the. It's not even the Magners League or the Celtic League anymore. Now was it the Pro 12 or whatever?
Pro 14, yeah.
But I wish I had the chance to sit down because every Friday, every Saturday, I would sit down with Dad and we'd be watching. We'd watch them all. We'd watch Ulster, Munster, Leinster. We'd watch them all playing, and we're big fans of them all. Really, just any of the Irish rugby. Like it was good to see the teams doing well. So I don't get to do that now. So I wouldn't say. Like I wouldn't know the half I would have known before. Like, but
fingers crossed.
I'm reading O'Connell's book.
How are you? Any use?
It's class. Yeah. It's class. Like it's just his mind frame as well. It's funny. Like when you start reading stuff like this, you can draw motivation from it. But it's funny. Like from just an Irish perspective. No, like typical Irish. Like stubborn, hard headed. Like. You listen to it and it's stuff I can hear my own dad saying and so on. Like it's.
Do you got our inspiration from that?
Yeah, 100%. Like I love reading these books. I remember Fight Week. I was reading Rory Kavanagh sent me a copy to the house back home of his book, and like in there it was talking about obviously it was talking about Jim McGuinness. It was talking about. All the GAA, and he was one of the things he said. He was like, "This is Donegal. This is our people." And I was reading it Fight Week, and I read that, and I was like, "Jesus!" Like straight away, like it gets the
blood boiling.
It gets the blood going. Like you're ready to run through walls once you hear that. Like so, like that's what I like to have. I like to have something like that. That's something that kind of reminds me because I'm not at home
the whole time. Like, getting reminded.
And that was my main motivation. The people back there. Same in Wales. Like all the people when I was training, growing up, like all these people, they kind of had their hopes set on me. I was kind of their coach as well as their friend and training partner, and they always seen big things for me. So that was my motivation to do well. I remember like training with my friend, I couldn't bitch out with one of the boys. Like I had to set the example. Yeah. So,
that's interesting you said that because, is there a point then maybe that you might want to come home and train maybe before a fight or something like that to maybe gather that pace and momentum and have that, maybe your blood boiling a little bit more?
It's something I thought about, but obviously like I got world-class, training partners here and world class coaches. I would like to find a way that I capture that, and but train here. So I don't know whether like maybe it's just a fact that I spend too much time away from home.
Okay.
And like when I get back home, I wouldn't do much training. Like I would spend my time running around, like trying to see my family, trying to see my friends, catch up with people. Um, maybe I should spend like a longer spell when I go back, spend a bit of time there, and just kind of almost like recharge your motivation.
Yeah, rechannel it. And,
That's something I've been thinking about. Like I said, when my friend said, "There's no way I'm going to pitch out," like this is someone who kind of looked up to me when we were training together. So just having that is enough to really push you to a different level. Maybe motivation you couldn't get that you can't just draw from yourself.
yeah, definitely. Mr. Duffy, it's always a pleasure. I do appreciate the time. Always enjoy conversations with you. And listen, I hope the shoulder gets cleared up. And hopefully, listen, you better give me a shout when you're back in Dublin in a couple of weeks, or I'll be annoyed. Or back in the country.
Yeah, 100%. I'll let you know. I don't know what the scoop is at the minute, but I don't know. No doubt I'll land over home anyway. Every time I get back, I end up, even if I'm back for a week, we end up spending 3 days over home. Like so, it's
definitely always a pleasure, Mr. Duffy. Great to have you on the show. Appreciate the time.
Thanks, Niall.